All right, it's Friday, December 2nd, 2022, and you are listening to Jared and Mike Tell It Right podcast. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to open up this week's episode because Jared and I are trying something a little bit different with our episodes. So last week, you might have noticed we kind of ended abruptly after 30 minutes while talking about Rick and Morty towards the end. So the reason with that is Jared and I came up with an idea. Instead of putting out an hour and a half all at once, we're going to break it up into 30-minute sessions. What I kind of failed with last episode was putting in something at the end, kind of explaining what we're doing like I'm doing now. So that's kind of why that was a little confusing, because I didn't do anything like that. Just put a little slide at the end and it just kind of ended, and everyone's kind of like, oh, what the hell? So this is kind of what we're going to be doing moving forward. So you'll be seeing a lot of me in the beginning and at the end of a podcast. And then it'll be me and Jared's discussion throughout. But last week we released a discussion on the late Jason David Frank. And now these next episodes here are going to focus on the Star Wars Andor series on Disney+. So we hope you like this. And, we hope you'll watch till the end here. Make sure you are following, sharing, and leaving us a comment. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you at the end.
Action Jackson.
So we were just talking about Rick and Morty here.
Mm-hmm.
We just had a drink break. We usually have those. However, you guys don't see them because I cut them. They're quite boring because it's just me by myself while Jared makes a drink.
Yeah.
But anyway, so today's main topic is going to be the Andor show on Disney+, because that is 100% aired. So I'm gonna give the disclaimer here. Spoiler alert. Show's been out for a few days now, but there's a lot of you that haven't caught up. So I do suggest you tune back when you have caught up, because this is the real deal right now. What we're gonna have to talk about.
If you are that much of a fan of this and you haven't seen it in the past 4 days, you're not a fan.
Yeah.
I don't even care if it was Thanksgiving or not.
I mean, some might have some limitations.
But
whatever.
Again,
it's all right.
By the time this even gets released, you've had 5-6 days.
That's right. That's right.
So you've had almost a week, you jerks. Watch the damn show.
Unless I do something crazy and this actually gets released tonight on Saturday. Which I'm known to do that sometimes. I just do some quick audio edits. I don't throw any clips in, and
you're a wild card.
Yeah. No, we were gonna talk about some dead people today, but I'm glad we didn't, because Andor, we didn't have enough time for Andor if we would have.
Yeah.
So Jared, you want to take this off?
Where we want to start from?
Well, how about this? So everybody knows, okay? Mm-hmm. This is Star Wars Andor, okay? Yes. If you've seen Rogue One, this is a prequel to Rogue One. It takes place 5 years before Rogue One, and it stars Diego Luna is Cassian Andor, our main character. We have Adria Arjona, which is the Bix Colleen. That's like an ex-girlfriend of Cassian's, good friend, sort of deal. We got the famous Stellan Skarsgard as the luthen Rael. Genevieve O'Reilly as Senator Mon Mothma. We got Fiona Shaw as Marva Andor, so that would be Andor's mom.
Yeah.
And we got Faye Marseille. She's pretty good looking as Vel Sartha. And we got, now this person isn't that good looking. Denise Go as the ISB supervisor Dedra Miro.
She's probably hotter in real life.
She probably is. Yeah, they really took the life out of her in this show. And then we got this loser Kyle Soller, who plays Cyril Karn, the Primor security chief assistant or whatever. This weird guy that has so many issues in his head. I don't know
Yeah,
where to
he's so
even start.
weaselly and
Okay, so now we got that out of the way. So what do we think? What'd you think, Jared?
of the overall series.
Overall, all 12 episodes crammed in. What'd you think? When you put them all together, what is the average you get from that?
I mean, overall it was great. I mean, just as a show in general. Like if you didn't even like Star Wars, it's just a good show, right? That being said, and just like we've seen in a lot of shows, I think they spend a lot of time delving into things that we really just don't give a shit about. Like it just kind of moves slow in certain spots. Even certain episodes were just like, okay, where are we going with this? Like we probably could have cut out like maybe one or two episodes of what they had in there and put that into like one episode. You know what I mean?
Here in Andor, or are you just saying
Yeah,
Star Wars in
and
general?
no, in Andor,
Okay.
Andor. I think there's a few episodes that it's just like you could have made this a lot shorter and just made one episode out of two, that you just dragged on with.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I think every episode had its purpose, right, in building the backstory. But in a lot of times, like, and even in the way that it ended, it's like we already know. So you're building up to this thing that we know what's going on. You know what I mean? At the end of this is a prequel, right? We know what's going to happen. Just like with the prequel trilogy, like if you knew anything about Star Wars, you knew kind of what was going to happen coming up to A New Hope. With like Revenge of the Sith, we knew that Anakin was Darth Vader. Like it wasn't a surprise when it happened. We were just waiting
Right.
for it to happen.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's where kind of we've ended here with this was okay, we know what Andor is supposed to become and what he does already. We're just getting to that point where he becomes that. And I think that's where we kind of ended was this is the turning point. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I don't know. It was a lot of buildup for something that wasn't a surprise. At the end of the day, it's like he lives. He doesn't die because obviously because he's in Rogue One.
No, right.
You know what I mean. So at no point during this whole thing is there ever going to be that suspense that we know he's going to die.
Right.
So anything that bad that happens to him is never the worst, and we know that he's like when he went to prison, like he's getting out.
Right.
He was going to be in there for 6 years, but
Now
this is 5 years.
What I will say about that is I always kind of tricked when he got sentenced because they said 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's 5 years, but like when the time it happened, it was like, oh, maybe he sits in jail for quite a few years and then, breaks out and he forms with the rebellion again or something. But that didn't happen.
Wasn't he only in there for like a month or two?
Right. Yes. That's I think that's essentially.
I remember it skipping ahead and it was like 30 days later or something, or 30 shifts later. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think it was fantastic. I mean, I would give it like 8 or 9 out of 10. I mean, again, it wasn't perfect, but
what about on a Siskel? What about on a Siskel and Ebert scale?
Oh, it's getting 2 thumbs up for sure. Yeah, right up the butt.
Yeah, well, that's the Jared and Mike scale.
Yeah.
So you go from Siskel and Ebert to Jared and Mike.
Yeah, up the butt.
Yeah. So,
how about yourself? What did you think?
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, incredible show, I think. I think the main things to take out of this is a Star Wars backstory, and this is something George Lucas was never big on. I mean, especially like when you look at Boba Fett. Okay, so
yeah.
he thought about it. He thought about this backstory, but he didn't really care too much about it, and he figured that wasn't going to affect the story as much if he didn't give backstories on a lot of things. But that's kind of the cool thing about Star Wars. I think that's what it created. It's like Apple, they release this, fancy looking device,
No.
But then next year they released this even nicer, fancier device that can do a little bit more, than your last device. So you have to get it. And that's kind of, I think it created that effect where people over the years of Star Wars existence have started asking questions like, okay, what happened before, A New Hope? What the hell happens after Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Lucas comes out with the actual first three, and now tells a backstory that he didn't really care to back in the day.
Mhm.
And he tells the backstory, and now the next questions start asking, well, what the hell happens between Order 66 and freaking A New Hope?
Yeah.
Then you start getting it, Rogue One, and then people are more interested after Return of the Jedi, and we start getting, those
The
other
Mandalorian. Well,
before Mandalorian. I'm talking about
of those.
right, the ones we don't speak of, those get made, and then
The
they
ones that must
realize
not be named.
they're right. Then they realize, all right, we screwed up. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go. We're gonna make series now. We're not gonna make movies, and then we're gonna focus on this random Mandalorian character. Then we're gonna go to Boba Fett because that's a fan favorite. Boba Fett, he's the most popular Star Wars character out there. And it was all because, and it comes back to what I'm talking about here, is this no backstory.
Yeah.
And that's what drove people nuts. And that's why Boba Fett became the most popular character out of all Star Wars, because he was the most mysterious character you knew nothing about, except he had like 6 lines, and everybody wanted that action figure. Everybody wanted that, action figure ship, and all that stuff. I had Boba Fett, even a kid growing up in the 90s, you know what I mean? I wanted the Boba Fett stuff. And
who doesn't like Boba Fett?
Right. And that's what I'm getting at.
Like,
right. And that's where Star Wars was, and that's the genius behind it. And that's what's led to where we're at now, I think. So there's that. Okay. So this series isn't, so I guess what I'm getting at is now we have this story of between the Order 66 and let's just say A New Hope, or let's say Rogue One. Okay. Now we have this story, and this has nothing to do with the heroes of the rebellion, the heroes of the Empire, or whatever.
None of them.
None of that's in there, right? None of that. And that's what makes this unique. And it allows you to see a different side of Star Wars that just, I mean, the side of Star Wars we've always seen is the hero saves the day. And it's like nobody's getting their hands dirty, right? It's just, cut and dry. Destroy the Death Star, stop the Emperor, stop Vader. But like, you don't know how we got the plans to the Death Star. All we heard is people risk their lives to get this to us, and then we destroy it. We don't know exactly what the Empire did to gain their control. All we know is the Empire exists. And then once we saw the first 3, now we know why the Empire exists.
Yeah.
But we don't know exactly what they did after that to force the galaxy to follow them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't really see, you just see the Emperor take over, and and then they start killing off the Jedi, and that's really all you see. You don't really see the authoritarian takeover, where people are actually being abused now, because the clone troopers, that's what makes sense to me, is the clone troopers probably wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have been oppressive, and they probably would have possibly fought back. And that's probably why, it was, I guess we learn in the Bad Batch or in Clone Wars that they're too much money, so we're just gonna go with regular conscription and, and all that shit. So yeah, I don't know. But
One of
like
the best scenes ever, though, was when you see that clone trooper in Obi-Wan sitting there like a bum on the street. And I
like
don't
a
know if that was
vet.
Rex. Yeah, I don't know if that was Rex, Captain Rex, because he did have the blue or just one of the 501st.
Yeah.
But the fact that they got Tamara Morrison, put him into a clone outfit when we see him as Boba Fett too, because obviously Boba Fett is a clone,
Right.
which is another weird backstory shit. Like Boba Fett's the baddest mofo out there, but there is a whole army of Boba Fett's before, technically.
Right. Boba Fett's just the only one that doesn't age like them.
Yeah, he didn't have the aging modification.
Right. So he
live
won't,
longer.
Yeah, he'll live longer. But I'm curious though to see if Omega ever becomes a live action role, and if she has anything to do with the rebellion. Or I mean, are they bringing Bad Batch back, or was that like kind of a one and done?
No, there's a second season coming out.
Okay,
here next year.
So they probably won't do live action with her. She'll just probably be
might be in Ahsoka, because they're going to do all the live action Rebels in Ahsoka, because they got like Sabine Wren and Ezra.
Yeah. All right. And then, so that's what I was wondering what was going to happen in Andor too. Since this was separate from everything, I was still wondering if we were going to see Jedi of any form. Okay. I was wondering if we would see Vader or Palpatine. And the guy Star Wars Theory that has his own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
He refers to it as fan service. So when you have a show like this and you get these characters, these main characters from other movies and franchise or shows or whatever, that's supposed to be like a service to the fans. Like you basically just watch this. It has nothing to do with, the rest of the universe, but now we bring them back to just remind you that this is all related. But that's what was nice about Andor is you didn't have that. Nobody came. There was references made to like Palpatine, I believe, but he never showed up. And that was another thing Star Wars Theory said. What was going on was too small of a scale to get any of those guys involved.
True. But what's her mom Mothman or
Mom Mothma?
Yeah. Isn't she that lady that's in all of the New Hope and everything? Like the redheaded lady, the ambassador lady? Yeah, that's her. Okay. That's what I thought. That's what I have been thinking, but I didn't really, I wasn't assured, if you will. So obviously she knows all of this.
Yes.
And maybe that's what we're going to see, because she does that history thing with Luthen and all this and that. And like, maybe she just knows all this stuff that's going on, with like, because obviously she knows Princess Leia.
Yeah.
Or will know.
Right.
But she's a senator, isn't she?
She is, yeah.
Or an ambassador herself.
No, she's
Andor.
For Alderaan.
Yeah.
So yeah, Princess Leia.
Probably after Jimmy Smits died.
After Jimmy Smits. So Leia is an ambassador, and then Mothma is a senator, and so basically So here, let me go through this. So what I've learned through Andor is it's not just about Andor. It's about a few different people, and they're all like what they all have in common is there's this trouble, this struggle that they all are trying to get over. So you got Andor, who's this, kid who grew up as like a thief pretty much. And he's trying to get the hell away from the Empire. He wants to get out of where he's lived for however many years. He wants to take his mom with him, wants to get the hell out of there. And he just wants to live as far away from the Empire as he can, living a new life. And then you got, now you got this rebellion with luthen Rael, who is kind of, I'm trying to find out if he's the leader or what he really is, and if he actually exists in like A New Hope and all that. But there's a lot of speculation on this guy because he's another mystery on what he can do. You know, some people think he might be a Jedi. Some people think he's actually a Sith that's trying to take Palpatine and Vader out and take over this entire, you know, republic as well. You know, there's all kinds of shit going on there.
He's such a wild card.
Right,
Like,
but with him, it's like he's trying to push this rebellion forward now. They're making momentum because now they do know this is because Andor tells them. He's like, they're cocky. They're ignorant to the world because they think they're so badass that they don't think anybody's going to mess with them. They don't think I think the exact words is, they don't think a guy like me is going to eat their food or something like that, or walk in and eat their food. I forget how he put it, but basically he was getting at is, all I did was dress up in an officer's uniform, walk in and steal this thing in like a very secure place. But because of the fact that they're cocky and they don't care and they don't think anybody would do that or dare do it because, you know, they think they have a grip on everything. And that's why they were that's why they were vulnerable, because they just did not think. And so he walks in, takes this, and like Luthen realizes that now, like, yes, this is the time. Like these guys, what do you call it? Like, this is the time to get them with their pants caught at their ankles, you know? And then there was some
to get him with the big Gary Busey.
Exactly. Yeah. This is the time to pull the Gary Busey on the Empire.
Yeah.
Pull their pants down and fucking and let them be seen. But yeah, and then like, so you got Luthen, and that's his deal. He's trying to get this rebellion to get momentum now, because once he does, everything's going to start falling on the Empire, and they're going to lose control, and they're going to hopefully regain it. Then you got Mon Mothma, who is she's stuck in between. She don't fucking believe in the Empire. And all she wants to do is protect people and get them rights. And so her issue is because she's being put on the spot now because she's got money. So she can fund this, but now the Empire's looking at her. So she's figuring out how the hell to fund a rebellion without getting caught. And so that's her struggle right now. I mean, who else did I have on here? So we had, Andor. And so then the next one is going to be the, what do you call it? What's her name? Miro. The ISB chick.
Yeah.
So her issue is she's a newer supervisor, and she wants to really show her mark, and she wants to bust Andor because he stole from her, one of her jurisdictions and all that. And she wants to prove to the Empire that, we got caught with our pants at our ankles, and we need to
we got Gary Busey.
Yeah, we got Gary Busey, guys, and it's just not acceptable. We
can't let that happen.
So you have all these characters in here that are just like, they're all fighting something. And then I guess fucking retarded Cyril, he's fighting the fact that he's got some weird mental disability that he's so focused on busting Andor after his boss was like, forget about it. You're just going to bring unwanted attention to us. Like, and the boss even says, these guys were not supposed to be there. Like, he's basically telling the kid, like, that's great. You want to like fucking stick up for these guys and you want to get justice for them. But like, let's take a step back here. Like, they were somewhere where they shouldn't have been. They were somewhere they shouldn't have been able to afford. and
Yeah.
like just and like they were on duty. So like these guys were in the wrong in the first place. And like this dude doesn't get it. He's just mad because well, they were security guards with him. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna bust them and I'm gonna show the Empire that, and really all it was is now when you look back, that was just him trying to impress the Empire. Like, I caught the guy that killed our security agents,
Yeah.
which if it truly happened and he caught Andor, and the show never needed to happen, guarantee the Empire would just walk in and be like, "Hey, great, get fucked." We're still taking over now because you guys are idiots.
Yeah.
But that's what I found in it, and that's what I kind of like, and that's kind of what's given this momentum. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's where I'm at. I really like it, and I think it's a new way of looking at Star Wars for sure, and it's a better way. It's a way to take us away from Star Wars itself, but actually see that dirty, like you've always said, the grittiness, like
Yeah.
getting your hands dirty to make the rebellion happen, so we could have a new hope. Empire Strikes Back,
Yeah.
and,
Well, I mean, like I was saying, I've always said about it is everything that we've seen before was always a stormtrooper getting shot, right? But, with a blaster. This is a
Mhm.
man without a face. It's just bad guy, right?
Yeah,
We don't see it. We have no emotion to it, right? We just see the bad guy dying, and that's good. It was always
right,
good versus evil, and it's not. That's not it because there's that gray area. Like the good has to be evil for the better good. Like,
right.
okay, so we saw that those they lost 30 guys in that assault.
Yeah,
So the rebellion lost 30 guys so that they wouldn't be found out that they know, or that they have inside information.
right.
You know what I mean? And so they had to make that decision knowing that those people were going to die to let them happen. And he even said it to Saw Gerrera.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? He's like, you're going to let these people die? And
right.
he's like, yeah, it's for the greater good.
Yeah, and it gets back to that whole thing with the ignorance. So
Yeah.
yes, we're gonna let him die because these guys, they need this. They need to believe that they're in control. So if we let him go and we don't warn them and we let it go naturally like they want it, because we saw on the one side it was a trap, right?
Mhm.
So to get Saw Gerrera to come out, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Or to try to expose some things. So basically now knowing that this is happening, they can back away, but they still get this Krieger guy, and it kind of satisfies the Empire,
Yeah.
for them. And it allows them to kind of keep running under the radar. Because even though the Aldani attack was successful, it almost seems like it wasn't enough momentum. It was the
Yeah.
start of the momentum, but it wasn't enough. So now we kind of gotta, we gotta trick them again and make them think that they've broken all of our spirits. This isn't gonna happen again, so they can be, stupid, and we do this again under their nose, and they have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, look at like, so what happened on Ferrix at the very end there, like that speech that lady was giving, like just the intensity of that whole scene, like that whole section of that
Marva,
episode.
yeah,
Yeah.
dead Marva,
Like that, like almost gives you goosebumps. Like when she was like doing that, then they like just all out brawl goes on. Like that
large
shit was in,
Marva,
yeah, like that shit was intense.
yeah. No, I mean, like, that was another cool part seeing that. I mean, like,
Mhm.
you really are starting to see Cassian's connection to the rebellion, because that
Mhm.
was one thing I noticed too, is this guy's not trying to be part of the rebellion. He
No.
wants to just, again, make some money and get the fuck out and go even further to another planet away from the Empire that they don't have control of. All right, everybody, that was our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please stay tuned for next week where we'll pick up on the rest of this Andor discussion. But in the meantime, make sure you're following, make sure you're sharing, make sure you're liking, make sure you leave us a comment or two. But thank you again. Make it a great day or not. The choice is yours.